one of these picks might be a little bit basic, but I'm genuinely taken with all of these books. I've always loved to read, and there was a long time where I had stopped completely, but I'm really, especially this year, proud of myself and how many books I was able to complete. And I'm really thankful for the literature courses I took this year because they were really useful in that they gave me curated selections of books that all had to do with similar topics, so it was easier to explore some of the themes. I think I'm gonna leave my favorite to last. My favorite is also the shortest one, look, but we can talk about the most popular to least popular, which is my favorite. So I think that if you like my music, and especially if you like body horror, you will love Lapvana. I mean, Otessa Moshfegh, I always get her name wrong. Otessa, she's my girl. I'm gonna call her by her first name. Otessa understands me and is able to communicate some of my more surrealist visions and ideas so well. I know that this is a really messed up thing to say, but my brain and the way that I think about stories is very folktale-esque, and it is perfectly cemented in this book. It's essentially like this vague olden days fantasy story about this kid who it's kind of like Prince and the Pauper retelling, but there's this variety of characters that are essentially all leading to each other's demise. And I recall images from the book very fervently, but I honestly, at the end, even now, could not tell you what the whole thing is about. I love how casually the fantastical elements are woven into the book, and it's never treated with reverence or mysticism. It is treated as though it were a normal part of the world, which I think all fantasy should do, but they really pander to the reader sometimes in fantasy. This does not at all, and it's really beautiful in that way. A lot of people read this, and this drives me up a wall. A lot of people read this, and they have been calling it a bad book, like the book is badly written, because of the subject matter and the themes that it deals with. This book is depraved. It is an exploration of depravity, and it is an exploration of times where morals were not as tightly applied. That's the world that was set up. And to me, a good book is a book that is able to execute a vision well, really well. So here's the issue, is that readers judge a book based on concept, and they don't understand that the execution of the concept is what makes a piece of work good or not. Actually recently, this is a whole different tangent, but similarly related. I was watching, oh my god, don't look at me when I say this. My guilty pleasure YouTuber is Dylan is in Trouble, and I was watching his Hush video, and apparently that has a huge controversy because he called the movie bad, and people didn't like that he called the movie bad because it deals with the subject matter of violence against women, and there's like an intruder, but I watched the movie, and the movie sucks because it's not able to execute on the theming well. You can't say that a movie is good just because it decides to speak about something. It has to be able to deliver on whatever it's attempting to deliver in a good way, which that movie didn't do. It was cheaply made. It didn't make sense. It wasn't scary. There was points where it just got slapstick and comical. And so similarly, but on the opposite spectrum, this book decides with its thesis is that it is a depraved book. That is the point of this book. You cannot call it a bad book because that's what it chose to do. You have to judge the book based on whether or not it was able to deliver that thesis well. which, judging by the reaction, it did. The world building is beautiful. The writing is oddly, like, very simplistic, and to me the style is reminiscent of, literally, I don't know why I felt this, but it's reminiscent of, like, Rick Riordan, in that the sentences are uncomplicated, but somehow, even though they are short and they are uncomplicated, you are able to get, like, a full, vivid picture and be fully immersed in what's being presented. And I think that there's a mix of culture here that is not appropriative, and it's just so totally weird and ambiguous, but I guess it plays on media tropes and stuff that we already know about medieval-esque times, like the vague olden days, and it's able to craft a fantasy medieval world that doesn't commit or take from any culture, which is really, really amazing and cool. If you like the allegorical, and if you like, you know, going to the extreme to describe small little feelings and, you know, deconstructions of things that everybody goes through, but like through really extreme lenses, I think this book is totally for you. There's discussions about aging, there's discussion about gender, and it's great. It's really beautiful, and I think that you guys will love it. This book, dude, I think that this is beautiful words core because it is so, like, what are we saying? What are we doing right now? Okay, Beautiful Words was such a nonsense song, and I think I can assign meaning to it now, but at the end of the day, what it means is that I like the words. Like, that's how I wrote it. I liked the words that I was saying, and so I would fill in the words based on what sounds I thought were necessary, which is why you get a lot of alliterative sounds in there that might not necessarily mean anything. Similarly, this book literally took me 2 years to get through. I bought it 2022, and okay, it is maybe 150 pages of words and then the rest are pictures, but the reason why it took me so long is because there is so much happening and you get lost so quick. I had to reread multiple pages over and over and over again, and I would get tired of it. However, I'm going to tell you that this book is 100% worth whatever labor you put into it. So if you're trying to be like, because me personally, I don't believe that there's any such thing as a hard read. You know what I mean? I'm just like, if I can understand the words, then it's not going to be a hard read. But this is, okay, so for example, the main character, Iris, trades a truck. Look, it's very hard to, it's so difficult to talk about. But essentially, she has a friend who's getting gender affirming surgery and they don't have a place to stay. She trades their truck for her house, and then they live in her house while she goes and drives out to the countryside. And then all of a sudden it cuts to she names her achy feet because her feet are hurting her, and she says that they like the pangs of pain in her feet are panging in the voices of these famous writers. I cannot pronounce their name. It's Bouvard and this is the Beschwet, perhaps. And they become characters unto themselves, but they're not actually ever talking, but they have like full pages where the 2 feet are speaking to each other about what's happening, and they're essentially narrators, but like they're speaking in aches, I guess. And there's like, look, like literally in the description, there's Nazi cows, there's like this art gallery owner who like killed someone. I could not, honestly, but it was such a joyous read because of that, because there was always something happening and it was always shifting in this insane surrealist manner, but it felt very upbeat the whole time, and it really felt like the author, which I I heard was based on her life at the end. It felt like the author was treating this with a bubbly sort of optimism, even though some of the discussions were a little bit more sad, especially regarding home life. So I think if you like beautiful words and you like sort of playful language that's a little bit more high level and super surrealist, crazy comedy, then this is 100% the book for you. I say just do it. It probably was just bad for me because I have crazy ADHD, and so the writing style not being normal took some adjusting to, but it was rewarding to finish this. It was super rewarding to finish this. Guys, I want you to see how big the words on the page are, and there's 100 pages maybe. Like, look how itty bitty this is. This is my favorite thing I've ever read, ever. This is basically that one Black Mirror episode where White Christmas. This is basically White Christmas, but even more of an existential horror. And I think that perhaps this doesn't relate to any one song, but I think that the place that I write from is this. I'm writing from the library at all times. So the concept for this story is essentially that it starts off with kind of a good place, which, if you know, fans of the channel, they know we did a deconstruction on The Good Place, and we love The Good Place here. It starts off with a Good Place-esque interview where there's like this demon creature, and the main character is sitting in front of the demon creature and is essentially being told that they've died and that he is going to be punished. The demon creature is essentially saying that hell is not eternity, but it's pretty hard and pretty difficult. And so what occurs is he and like a group of other people are trapped in a library that is full of every book that has ever been written, plus every book that could possibly be written in every format and possible imagination, that variation that you could assign to that. So it's every possible thing that could have ever been written ever. So there's books with just one letter, A to Z. There's books with a bunch of combinations of letters. There's books with sentences. There's books with... And so it's very difficult to come across even any legible text. And the way you get out of this hell is you have to find the book with your exact life story written out with no mistakes in it. No stray letters, no stray punctuation. It needs to be the book with your exact life events recounted from beginning to end with no mistakes. That's how you get out. And it just basically is like a total rumination on what eternity actually means. And it really makes you feel what it means to be near infinity. I think infinity is so hard to grasp in its purest form. Like when we say the word infinity and whatever you're thinking of, it's probably a long line where the horizon ends, sort of in the distance. That's infinity. This book places you in infinity. It places you in the dread of knowing that 150 years of work, for example, will only ever earn you one legible sentence out of these books that they've been perusing. And he like tries so hard to make connections with other people, but there's a point where it just becomes futile because he loses the person that he loves in this forever eternity, and they're gone forever and they'll never be able to find each other again because it's infinite. And it's not, and that's what I think hammers this home, is that Peck writes vastness so well. He writes huge space in a way that is incredibly captivating and demoralizing, and knowing that what he's depicting is not infinity, it is a microcosm of it, it left me in like actually an existential crisis for maybe a month after. But it's beautiful, and I hope to impart something as effective as this was as a book and as a piece of media. My dream would be to create something that left someone else feeling as impacted as this book made me feel. Please read this. This is absolutely beautiful. I think that if you like my music, you'll like this, because my music is me and I like this. That's basically where I'm coming from. But it really is gorgeous, and it's an easy read, and I think it really will shift the way that you look at your own religion and belief system, and it will really make you feel small and humble you in a good way and a bad way. It'll do that, though, either way. But yeah, this is one of my favorite things ever written, ever. Yeah, so please let me know if you read any of them. I would be so flattered, and I would be so open to having a forever discussion with you. Maybe not forever. Having a discussion with you about any of these reads if you decide to pick them up. Okay, bye.